For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchase a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We'll now begin the meeting with a roll call of the members. We recognize many of our West Valley associates are in at the luncheon with the governor, but I think they've sent some of their best staff here to be with us. So we do have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. I will go down the list of members alphabetically. Please unmute and indicate if you are present. Rob Bohr as proxy for Patrick Banger.
Here.
Thank you. Jeffrey Barton. Jean Blackman. Chris Brady, Chair.
Here.
Thank you. Andrew Ching.
Present.
Thank you. Kimberly Moon as proxy for Ron Corbin.
Present.
Thank you. Doug Sandstrom as proxy for Dan Cotterman.
Present.
Henry Darwin. Crystal Dykes. Carrie Dyrick.
Present.
Thank you. Stephen Erno.
Present.
Thank you. Jeff Graves as proxy for Lisa Garcia.
Present.
Thank you. Bruce Gardner.
Present.
Thank you. Rachel Goodwin.
Present.
Thank you. Ben Bitter as proxy for Rick Horst.
Here.
Thank you. Rosa Chasty.
Present.
Thank you. Suzanne Jones. Jeff Kulaga.
Here.
Thank you. Leo Liu.
Present.
Thank you. Reyes Medrano. Jessica Mefford Miller.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack as proxy for Brian Myers.
Present.
Thank you. Gary Neese. Kevin Phelps.
Here.
Thank you. Calvin Pilcher. Jen Pekorski. Bryant Powell.
I'm here.
Thank you. Steve Skinto as proxy for Wynette Reed.
Present.
Thank you. Bill Murphy as proxy for Jim Thompson.
Here.
Thank you. Mark Sanders as proxy for Jennifer Toth.
Present.
Thank you. Catherine Valenzuela.
Present.
Thank you. Maria Sigalski as proxy for Matthew Williams.
Here.
Thank you. Bob Wingenroth.
Here.
Thank you. Joshua Wright.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item is called to the audience. This is opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. I don't think we have any call the audience requests. Is that correct? Just for, we do? Oh, okay. I've had it for consent agenda. Okay. So we have one item. We have one speaker for the call to the audience. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with the committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting. So you should have at your seat a copy of those written comments. Is that correct? I think that's correct. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's one written comment for the call the audience. There are no additional written comments for any other agenda item on today's agenda.
Okay. So at this time, Diane Barker will invite you to come forward.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brady and Meg Manager Steinbarker. I'm from downtown Phoenix, and it's good to see you this new year. I'm looking forward to a good one. Hope to make transportation move. And I see that you didn't have to shovel too much snow here. In the last month, maybe the Sonoran Desert of Greater Phoenix received about an inch of water. We're hoping that when the snow melts at the higher elevations, that we will be the benefit of a lot of that water down here. And just so you know, Chairman Brady, when I did sign up through your remote over there, I clicked to speak. It called the audience and consent, but it got translated to you for one, because apparently you can only do one at a time. And it's my suggestion with the advancement of IT that that form becomes one where you hit both options at the same time. And I think you can, if I can read it now and do it, and I still wear a letter from Ohio State that's over a century old. I think Meg can, advance to the future too. I'd like to share a little story about transportation. Some of you may or may not use transit, but I do. But I use a folding bicycle. At least I did. From 2 weeks ago, my bicycle got stolen off of the bus. Okay, so how did that happen? Well, a fella came up to me. I came out of LA Fitness, was at the bus stop over there at Camelback and about 18th. And it was after 9 o'clock. And he wanted some change. And normally, like, I don't get in a purse and, I don't carry cash. And so then I let him do that. And then I thought, gee, if I can't help him out, I should try to help him out. So I got my purse. I found $3 and 2 light rail coins, which are $1. And I waited for him to give me the 5, and then I gave it to him. So, and anyway, that was positive. The bus comes along. Ma'am, can I help you load your bicycle on? And I've had fellows do that, and I thought it was very gentlemanly. And I like it because it goes all across the ethnic areas that men have asked to help me with that. And so he did. But then what happened when I was getting off at my stop, I said, the bus driver, well, that's not my bike. My bike. And the bus driver looked and he said, well, that man took it off at Central.
Sorry. All right, we'll proceed to agenda item number 4. No informational items on today's agenda. So the next item is item number 5, the consent agenda. And so I'm assuming now we don't have any requests to speak for the consent agenda. Okay, come on back up. That's fine. I want to hear the rest of the story.
Okay, Chairman Brady, well, I'll tie it in with the items on consent, which was conformity, air quality, and I do support that. And I follow what Dean Giles is saying to us. Actually, the bus is an exempt item because it's considered something that is cutting down on air pollution, riding in mass. And the other, in regards to my bicycle, I did file a report with the police and with transit, and they have the ability to pull a video so they can identify this bicycle theft. But, I'm not looking for that they'll immediately. They said, would you prosecute? I said, yes, I would. I mean, so people have their cars stolen and everything, and they may make a bigger deal out of this. You get the insurance company. By the time that I do the deductible, it doesn't pay me to file that. But it's the bottom line in all this, and judges have looked at this before, is if a person's transportation is a bicycle or a car or walking, that's the way they get around, and that's important to them, and it shouldn't be stolen from them. So I really think that the moral of this whole story is it's not take transit and use a bicycle, because that program's been federally funded for a long time. It's been useful. It's helped people that are one-car families, or maybe people that some reason or other, that they had their license suspended. That's important. It helps them connect to earn a living. And that's what we want people to do. We want people to be able to hand a hand up, to be able to earn and prosper at all levels of our society. And that's where I see that America is the best. And Rio Imagined is part of that down in Salt River. And MAG is looking to take monies from savings. But my question to MAG and to Ed Zerker was specifically, what savings of federal monies are you coming up for that 2.9 million to go for that worthy project, Rio Reimagined? Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. All right, so we'll now move to the consent agenda. That includes items 5A through 5M. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on any of these items?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah.
So I do have a question on 5K.
Okay, would you just like ask a question,
Yeah.
or do you want to pull it off consent, or what?
No, I don't want to pull it off. Just a question is whether or not in that study they'll be also considering the BSNF coming into that area as part of that study.
I'll ask John Bolin. He's giving the thumbs up to that. The answer is yes.
We want him to walk all the way up here on the record.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Erno, absolutely. BNSF will definitely be a consideration, as well as all the development that's coming in there. That's one of the big reasons why we're gonna focus on that area, to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to support it.
All right, any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions. Do we have a motion for approval on this, on the consent items 5A through 5M?
I move approval.
Oh, there, thanks, Bob. I have a motion from Bob Wiegenroth. Do we have a second? Second from Kevin. All right. Here we go. We will have those participating in the meeting online now take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras. You're all incognito, so you're gonna have to, there you go. All right. We need to see your faces of everyone who's participating in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. So members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote, so the staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Okay? All right. So this is a voice vote of those in the room and those that we can see online. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, leave your cameras on for just a second. Staff, you can take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone turned on their cameras and the motion passes.
Oh, wonderful. Well done. Okay, good. I just like that. Now we'll proceed. Get ahead of myself here. We'll proceed to item number 6, recognition of February as Teen Dating Violence Prevention Awareness Month. Amy, are you presenting on this one?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, for this opportunity to share with you some information about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month coming up in February, to invite your participation in the activities, and to offer a resolution for your action today that would then be forwarded to the MAG Regional Domestic to the MAG Regional Council. The MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council is very much involved in these efforts, and we're joined today by DC Ernst, by Dolores Ernst. She is with the City of Phoenix, and she is online as well. Dolores, are you able to unmute?
Yes. Can you hear me?
All right, thank you. She is our chair of our MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council, and she joins us today to talk with us about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. DC, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amy. We know at least two things are true about teen dating violence. One is that it's common and occurring throughout our region and our country. In fact, according to the CDC research, 1 in 12 high school students report physical and sexual dating violence. 1 in 4 teens report verbal, emotional, physical, or sexual dating violence. For those who identify as LGBTQ and females, they're more at risk. And the abuse isn't just in person anymore, it's also being done through technology. This abuse of teens means that they are at higher risk for partner violence in adulthood. Next slide, please. The second thing we also know is that interventions help teens. In fiscal year 22-23, Bloom 365, a community partner, provided training and support to 3,159 teens. Of those teens served, 80% said that they felt more confident in getting and giving help, setting and respecting boundaries, communication and conflict resolution, and identifying healthy versus unhealthy relationships. Of those teens, they reported abuse, 53% reported having experienced dating and sexual violence. In addition to these forms of abuse, in addition to these forms of abuse, they also include bullying, witnessing DV, and other forms. Communities throughout our region are responding in a number of meaningful ways. There are youth and education work groups. Cities have youth advisory council. There's social media contests to raise awareness. And the CDC has created an evidence-based, community-driven approach to provide resources to youth, parents, educators, schools, and neighborhoods. And their website is on this slide. Next slide. We are also strengthening the regional response. The MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council created a work group specifically to look at the issue of teen dating violence. The MAG team created a website page specifically for our group to show the efforts that are being made. Last year, we partnered with Bloom 365, and they provided trainings last February. Those trainings are still available on the website to be viewed. It featured survivors and former aggressors or abusers, and last year 140 people participated. Yesterday in our work group, we learned that Bloom 365 is hosting a free Teen Interpersonal Violence Prevention Summit in 2024 from February 1st to February 3rd. That training and summit is free to the public. The first 2 days are actually being held on Zoom, and the third day will be in person. Part of their third day will also be presenting empathy awards to those who are advocating for teens. And we'd be happy to provide more information to this council if they'd like, as well as we're going to try to update our website to make sure that information is there. And with that, I'd like to turn the rest of the presentation back to Amy.
Thank you, DC, for joining us and for all of your service on the DV Council. So this resolution is presented to you today for action, and we are happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. In particular, if there's any activities or events that you'd like or information that you'd like to share during February as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, please do let us know. We'd be happy to assist you in any way. Often local councils will also pass their own resolutions or proclamations. If you'd like to use this as a template or any other materials, we're happy to provide that as well. That does conclude our presentation today. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have or any feedback that you have about activities that you're promoting in your own community as we seek to help coordinate these regional efforts and the regional response to Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Mr. Chair, that concludes our presentation.
Thanks, Amy. Amy, quick question. It sounds like a lot of great work, a lot of resource coming out of the city of Phoenix. How does this information get to like school districts? You have this domestic violence council. How do we, it seems like that's a great, that would be a place. So how does where do they come into this?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We do outreach to the school districts as well. And then in addition, the local communities often have their own contacts, but we're always looking for new relationships or new partnerships that could be established that helps to strengthen that communication. Bloom 365 is active in many schools throughout the region.
Okay.
And they provide this information directly to the students. They also have a great network where they actually train students to be able to be a point of contact for teens who are suffering abuse. Very often teens will reach out to their friends, not necessarily to an adult right away. And so when teens are in a position not to provide the counseling themselves, but to refer them to those trusted messengers, then teens are able to access help much more quickly.
All right, thank you.
I'd also say if you have school districts in your communities where you want to make sure they're connected, put them in touch with Amy or
Yes.
Kelly, and they can facilitate or ensure that that's already been done.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Any questions for Amy or DC? Jeff, go ahead.
Not a question, but more or less just trying to get the word out there more. It may be an opportunity for us if you could put something together for us that we could put out on our social media channels as well as our libraries, like our, teen centers and things like that we operate. Just so we get more foot traffic and exposure to what you guys are doing, because it is great work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Just looked over and Kelly was already looking back to her staff member, Juan, who works with social media. So that request is in process and we'll make that happen for you quickly. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, so this item is for action. So do we have I guess, Amy, it's a motion to approve.
It's actually to recommend approval of the resolution and then the
recommend
final
of the
approval would be
resolution.
given.
Okay, thank you. That's what we're looking for. So we have a motion to recommend approval of this resolution.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Jeff Barton. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Kevin Phelps. Again, we will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Wait, yeah. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. So, yep, all good. We got everybody's faces up there. All right. So this is a voice vote of those in the room and those online. Those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. All right. Staff, how do we do this time? Still 100%?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 100%.
Oh.
Motion passes.
This is a good day. Thank you. Maybe those West Valley managers need to
Apparently,
go to
yeah.
lunch more often.
It was the West Valley managers who are our problem.
No. All right. Well, let's proceed to item 7.
It's all Reyes.
That's right. Item 7 is on the agenda for information discussion. This item will be presented by Deputy Executive Director Amy St. Peter, Pathways, Home Highlights and Updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's been a while since I've been up here. It's good to see you again. I want to thank you for this opportunity and most importantly for your ongoing support in strengthening that regional response to homelessness. I'm joined today by Brian Gruters from our homelessness planning team and June Moreno from the city of Glendale. Also like to take a moment to recognize Katie Gentry. She is with us today. This is her last management committee meeting as a MAG staff member. She is pursuing other adventures. We wish her well in those endeavors. So she'll still be working with us just from a different role. But we'd like to thank Katie because a lot of the work undertaken through Pathways Home really is to her credit. It's to her leadership and with support from her team. So if we could please help me in thanking her for all of her hard work here at MAG.
We all aspire to pursue other adventures someday.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
Just so there's no mystery, we blame Jeff Barton for this.
Oh,
Going to work for him.
I got it.
Sharing is caring, and we're happy to share Katie. Well, not happy that she's leaving, but happy that she's at Phoenix. Will still be working with us. But Brian Gruters actually will be stepping into her role. He has a lot of experience in homelessness, fairly new to MAG and fairly new to the region. Not new to the work, though. He's worked in the trenches. He's worked at the policy level, the data level. So we're confident that he'll continue to lead the team in a great direction. So you'll be hearing more from Brian in just a few moments. But first, we want to share some data about housing and homelessness and the progress that we're making, as well as the ongoing need to continue this work really diligently and to be able to highlight a really great example of some local work that's going to be addressing these same concerns and activities. So this will seem familiar to you. We continue to pursue full implementation of Pathways Home, and we continue to make progress. We've now completed 4 out of 15 steps. Some of them will continue to be ongoing. All of them are underway. For example, we've just completed 2 more toolkits. Those are available on the MAG website. We now have a nice suite of different toolkits that can be used in addition to our learning management system, where we continue to supplement new trainings and materials there. So we're continuing to work with your staff, particularly through the local jurisdiction committee. Thank you for allowing your staff time to invest in these efforts. Their perspective is really important. It's critical for us to have an ongoing and deeper understanding of how homelessness is manifesting in your local communities as we work to strengthen the regional response to homelessness. Today, though, we'll be doing a bit of a deeper dive into housing. Housing is absolutely connected to homelessness. The lack of affordable housing is a big factor in people experiencing homelessness and in those rates increasing throughout the region, as well as a really important way to help people escape homelessness as they're able to attain housing and leave their life on the streets or in other areas not meant for human habitation. So we'll be sharing first a bit of data concerning the regional need for housing and that housing crisis that we're all experiencing in each of our communities. And then we'll look to the city of Glendale to show us how they're addressing those issues. So this is not a surprise as much as it is a crisis. Rents have increased significantly over the past 4 years. You can see on this map that rents are increasing throughout the entire region, some more deeply in areas than others, but we're all seeing some kind of increase. This map is showing you very specifically where it's increased more than 25%. In some cases, it's more than doubled across the region. This means that houses are cost burdened. They are really struggling to be able to pay those rents and mortgages. This particular map is showing you the locations or the concentrations where households are severely cost burdened. We say that that housing is affordable when someone is paying no more than 30% of their income each month on housing. These are people who are paying more than 50% of their income every single month just on housing. That makes them much more at risk to experience homelessness. Again, you can see that this is throughout the entire region. And our average at 15% here is slightly higher than the national average of 14% of households who are severely cost burdened when it comes to housing. You can also see that while homeowners can be cost burdened, it's renters who are particularly hard hit. So renters, we have more than 1 out of every 4 people who are renting who are cost burdened at this level. It's helpful, though, to go into a little bit of a deeper dive to understand where are people really experiencing this, where are the areas of the greatest need. So this map is showing you people who don't have affordable housing, that they're paying more than 30% of their income every single month. So again, it is region-wide, and it is an issue across the country as well. It helps us, though, to be able to dive in even a little bit deeper and to understand where are those severely cost-burdened households in terms of housing. So this map is showing you where are those neighborhoods where 50% or more are, yes, where 50% or more are paying more than 30% of their income every single month just on housing. So this can be very helpful in terms of the strategies and the development of those interventions to understand exactly where are people, where can we go to where they are to provide the assistance that they so urgently need. Housing, of course, isn't just about the housing and the cost, it's about the salaries. And so this chart shows you what are the salaries that people need to earn in order to be able to afford to own their own home or rent a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment. And unfortunately, a lot of the workers that we rely on in our communities simply don't have those salaries. They are out of reach in terms of their housing and their ability to afford that housing on an ongoing basis, and they are at risk for homelessness. And this is current data from 2023 for the greater Phoenix area. And as you can see, their wages are simply not enough to be able to afford housing on their own. And so that means that they're paying more than 30%, more than 50% of their income every single month just on housing, or they're doubled up, or sadly, they're experiencing homelessness. And so with this, and I will be transitioning over to Brian in just a moment, but want to share with you that as people are struggling to pay their housing costs, many of them are facing eviction. And this map is showing you where are people facing eviction, where those filings are occurring. And the darker purple dots, those are in the lower income areas. We find that, of course, the majority of the evictions are in those lower income areas. But again, you'll see it throughout the entire country, or sorry, throughout the entire region. When you compare these rates according to the rest of the country, it's fairly stark. For 2023, our eviction rate was right about 14%. And just hearing 14%, you might think that's a low number, but when you compare that to the national average is only 8%. We're almost twice the national average when it comes to evictions. So we're facing this crisis in a much deeper way than most other places are across the entire country. And our rate of evictions is the highest that it's been since 2005. So in 2023, we had over 83,000 evictions here in our region. And in 2005, we missed that by just a couple dozen numbers. So our evictions are the highest that they've been in many years, and they are much higher than what we're seeing across the country as well. At this point now, I'd like to transition over to Brian to talk with us about the point in time count and where people are experiencing homelessness. Brian?
Hey, everybody. I need to follow their mic here. So, so talking about folks who are rent burdened and facing eviction, we know that when that happens, that's where homelessness comes from, right? Is eventually folks kind of spiral down. And that's one of the chief drivers of homelessness in any community, but especially here where the rents have spiked really quickly. So what you see here is the point in time count numbers from this year. The every green dot up there is a person that got counted by a volunteer or a professional out in the field. One of the things that I get to do at MAG is organize the point in time count and work with all of the local coordinators in your jurisdictions and help get this effort out. We rely on this data, as you can see, the dots on the page, which allows us to see this backdrop. The green spread across the map tells us a lot of different things. Number one, it's prevalent. This is a big issue. I think everybody kind of knows that intuitively, but also I think key to this is that it's spread out. So it touches every community in Phoenix. And that's important because as you probably know, most of the resources that we have to address this issue are centralized. And that's something that we take note of at MAG, and it's something that I think we're working on sort of kind of parsing what to do with that in the future. But for the moment, again, using this as a backdrop, key challenges that we face, centralization of resources, and then also too few resources. That kind of goes without saying, but just for context, we've got, I think it's an 8 to 9 week wait just to get into a family shelter. And I had the opportunity to check that through with one of our intake coordinators yesterday. That number is only going up, which is, obviously unfortunate. So that's the bad news. Also wanted to leave you with some positives though, which is, we've really made strides in our community in developing more resources. And I think if we continue to keep pace with that, we hope to make progress. So 44% increase in our shelters since 2020. That's great. And then in addition to that, we've managed as a community really across Maricopa County to develop more affordable housing, which ultimately, we want to see more homeless dedicated and more affordable housing in all of our communities. In addition to that, the shelter resources have really, they've increased significantly. And I think the trick now is to hold on to those. So short little overview, but thanks all for paying attention to this important issue. And then to talk more about some of the really cool successes that we've had locally, Gene Moreno from Glendale.
Brian, before you go, would you just take a quick second and tell everybody what point in time count is and what's coming up with that?
Sorry, yeah, this is like the second time you've had to ask me that. Point in time count is it's the regional homelessness census that we do. So federal government mandates that every community go out and count folks who are experiencing homelessness in shelters and then on the street. So we do that annually. We do it because HUD says so, but also we do it so that we know our numbers, right? So that we can really put the maps on the page, and then also that we can get the word out. Every year, it gives us an opportunity to talk to people about this issue.
Well, we have a question. Do you have a question? Go ahead, Jessica. Go ahead.
I do. My questions are for Ryan. Ryan, on the map where the point in time count, where the green dots, one individual.
Yes.
Okay. And then second question, I know Amy shared this with us earlier. What was the % change year over year in the point in time count relative to the year prior?
I don't know if year over year. I know it's 7% since last year. Sorry, 23 to 20, 22 to 23 is 7%. I think prior to that it was significantly higher. I'm gonna say 30%, but don't quote me on that exact number.
Another component, if I remember right, I'm looking over at Katie and Amy. The number went up, but the number of unsheltered homeless counted went down and the number of sheltered went up, which is not good because the number went up overall, but the positive was there were more shelter beds available, which meant, relatively speaking, fewer people on the street. Did I get that? Okay. So kind of a mixed bag. It reflects the investments that all of you all have been making in finding ways for temporary shelter. And we'll see, the next point in time count is in 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, shameless plug. If you aren't doing anything on the 23rd of January and you feel like waking up early, my email is widely available through Meg. So go there. There's a point in time count webpage at Meg's homepage, and I would love to get anybody involved.
And if you have any opportunity to do it, I would say take it. I did not have an opportunity when I was city manager for the time to do it, but after I retired, I did. And it is an eye opener to go out there at 6 a.m. and find people in places you'd never imagined people were living. So it's good and eye opening to do. And Brian can coordinate that if you or any of your staff would like to participate. They always need volunteers who are willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday and go count. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to present today. We have a multitude of things happening in Glendale. Obviously, thanks to the support of my manager and council as it relates to both housing and homelessness. I've been asked to talk to you today about just one of those things, and it's the Veterans Community Project. So our city council and our mayor and our city council had an opportunity through the National League of Cities a couple of years ago to visit the Kansas City Veterans Community Project. And our mayor came back and said, hey, we need to get this in Glendale. And so we are getting Veterans Community Project in Glendale. So I'm excited to share this information with you. So Veterans Community Project is the name of a nonprofit organization. They are founded by combat veterans. And what they provide is services to anyone who has raised their hand to protect and taken an oath to protect this country, regardless of their discharge status or their eligibility for VA benefits and things like that. So essentially, they saw a gap in services that they wanted to address, and they've done a phenomenal job of doing that. So it's a community-based solution. So essentially, their traditional model is it's 100% funded through fundraising efforts. We're doing a little bit of something different here in Glendale to expedite the completion of this project. But essentially what they look for is to partner with the local community. So they are looking definitely for support from the local municipality where they intend to develop a campus. And then also for those community-based partners, whether it's service providers, other agencies, and so forth. So they do have a two-pronged approach. They provide on-site, non-congregate, what they call tiny homes. We refer to them as, individual units, and then on-site supportive services, which is critical to truly addressing the needs of our homeless veterans. So here's just a slide that shows some of their national partners. They obviously come to the table with a breadth of experience and partnerships, but they also are very much seeking to address partnerships at the local level as well. So they have embarked on a national expansion initiative. So I mentioned the Kansas City campus. That was their first campus where they started. They clearly have 5 other campuses in progress. And then obviously the City of Glendale campus is forthcoming. So I talked a little bit about the local jurisdiction commitment. So they aren't necessarily looking for the local jurisdiction to make a commitment of funds or those types of things. Typically what they look for from a local jurisdiction is land where a development of this nature can occur. As you know, there's zoning requirements and things like that when it comes to the ability to construct shelters and things. And so that's really what they're looking for is the local cities to either provide land if they have it available, connect them with landowners, connect them with potential funders, other service providers, but then also just really helping them get ingrained here in the local community. I mentioned the zoning and land acquisition. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in Glendale and how we're handling that. But the other big piece of it is that they are really looking for that local municipality to agree to their operational model, which is low barrier transitional housing with on-site services. And when I say low barrier, what I mean is they don't want a local jurisdiction to come in and, let's say as an example, take HUD rules and regulations and apply it to that program. Because oftentimes what we find is that that's how individuals end up slipping through the cracks, is because they can't check all of the boxes on the regulatory requirements. So this is a very unique opportunity for us to ensure that we have a comprehensive, holistic way to address homelessness in our community, and very specifically for veterans. So their commitment is they will do local fundraising for both capital and operating. All of the funds that they raise here in our region will stay in our region for the Glendale facility. They will have local operations and management. They'll hire a local team. They will manage all aspects of the operation, so the city isn't having to supply funding for or staffing or anything like that. Essentially, the city is going to be their partner. They will provide performance reports, work obviously with the continuum of care and the local region to make sure that we're looking at this holistically. As part of one of the agreements that we will have with them, they will also do some reporting through the Homeless Management Information System, which is the system that we all use here in the region to track services for individuals that are experiencing homelessness. For our development, they will be developing a minimum of 50 units, and they will have on-site services as well. So the investment that we've made, I have a little map here that kind of shows the location. This is approximately 63rd Avenue and Grand. The city had acquired this property as part of a Grand Avenue reconstruction project many years ago. It was considered remnant funds. But we have expended $3.8 million of the city's general fund because those dollars had to get paid back. It is suitable for this facility. It will require a rezoning. The current zoning is some industrial and commercial mix. So that is going to be a process that we'll have to undertake, although we aren't expecting any issues with that process. And then obviously we have some current community support. I mentioned that what we're doing in Glendale is a little bit different than how they have developed in other communities. And part of the reason is thanks in part to our mayor's advocacy and the support from the state. So the state of Arizona made an allocation of $0.2 million of general fund in fiscal year 23-24 for this project. And then we are in the process of executing an intergovernmental agreement with Maricopa County Human Services Department, and they will be providing an additional $3 million for the project. So as a result of that, the city's contribution of the land and the land cost, and then the state and then the county, we've raised a little bit south of 50% of the funds that will be required to start construction, which is great news. They are super excited about coming to Glendale and have really expressed that they haven't received this kind of open welcome. In some of the other communities, there's been excitement about it, but the fact that we're bringing $6.2 million of capital fundraising to the table is something that they're very excited about. And that is also going to help us expedite the timeline. So in total, between capital and the operating startup, it's about a $14.2 million project. They obviously have about $6 million to raise still. But because we are bringing some of that seed money to the table, as you know, from the state and the region, we are able to expedite that timeline. So we're expecting about a 24-month build out. They will have a local capital campaign that will start. We'll obviously ensure that information gets out through all of the other communities as well, just so from an awareness perspective. And because we have that seed money, they'll be able to start construction while they're still raising the balance of the capital. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions before I turn the presentation back over to MAG staff.
Any questions?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Promise I'll sit down and stay down after this part. So these are the calls to action then. And we really want to highlight the importance of Glendale's project, because as an example of how one community is addressing homelessness, and every community has an opportunity to address homelessness in a way that aligns with their characteristics, their capacity, their needs, their preferences. And so we're very excited about the Glendale project, and in particular because it's a model that can be used for other populations as well. This one is focused on serving veterans. It could also be used, for example, for youth who are just aging out of foster care. And so there are opportunities there to reconsider how that model is being used in different communities across the region. But these are some opportunities for communities to continue to engage in this space. You're already deeply engaged. You're all part of Pathways Home, and we thank you for your efforts there. The point in time count, again, please, if you have any interest at all in personally volunteering, please do reach out to us. And we do want to thank you for the hard work of your street count coordinators who are helping to make the point in time count happen in your communities. January 18th, we'll have a free webinar that's open to everyone, sharing tools about how to build and preserve affordable housing. We'll be showcasing some great work there. We did just receive a $500,000 grant from the JP Morgan Chase Foundation that will be used to provide free and customized technical assistance to local and tribal governments who would like some more information and capacity building around affordable housing. So please do take us up on that. We're working very closely with our MAG Human Services Community Initiatives Committee, as well as the MAG Human Services Technical Committee, to really help shepherd that grant as it's launching. The education campaign that we've shared with you before is continuing on. We'll be starting the regional media buys here very shortly, and that toolkit is available for download right now on the campaign website. And lastly, please do reach out to Brian. It's really important for him to understand how homelessness manifests in your community, to understand what your local needs are, what your opportunities are, what your priorities are, so we can use that to help ensure that the regional response is as responsive and relevant as possible to you as inclusive. So that does conclude our presentation. Tyler, can you please forward to the next slide for me? That concludes our presentation. I encourage you to reach out at any time. We're happy to help you to celebrate your successes, like what we're seeing in the city of Glendale. And we're also happy to help serve any needs that you might have. Any questions at all?
Questions for Amy, Brian? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to proceed to item 8. This item is on the agenda for recommendation approval. This is the Regional 911 transition to state contract services. There's Nathan Pryor is all ready to go. Nathan, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Management Committee. And today I'm also joined by Audrey Skidmore, who's going to assist with some of the information in this presentation. I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about some of the beginnings of Regional 911 within Maricopa County. Since the mid-1980s, there's been a contractual agreement with the City of Phoenix and Maricopa Region 911 office therein to provide services and support for the region's public safety answering points for 911 services. And also since that time, MAG has had a role of convening conversations on the region's 911 system within Maricopa County. This has included, but not been limited to, developing and recommending budgets to the Arizona Department of Administration, which has administrative oversight on statewide 911 issues. Fast forward during the past 14 months, the MAG 911 Study Committee, you can see the composition there, and I will acknowledge some of those names that are not on there. We've had some turnover during the past 14 months of work undertaken by the committee in reviewing our current 911 system. We've also utilized a third-party consultant. That review concluded that, in part, that Maricopa Region 911 continues to provide the region with resilient, robust, and redundant 911 services to the residents of Maricopa County. I'd like to acknowledge our Maricopa Region 911 Administrator, Liz Graber, over there, and her staff for their continued fantastic work to date. Additional part of the consultant review was conducted on aspects of the state of Arizona's contract service for 911. So throughout last year, the co-chairs of the study committee, Chris Brady, Kevin Phelps, with participation by Jeff Barton, City Manager of Phoenix, held several meetings with ADOA staff to gain a better understanding of state contract services and the elements therein. A significant amount of time was spent on the following issues, to which Audrey Skidmore
is going to provide more details. These included policy routing functions, data center locations, regional procurement and contracts, service level agreements, funding processes, and issues related to transitioning to state contract services. We'd like to thank ADOA staff for their continuing ongoing involvement with us. I'd like to acknowledge, and if they could stand here today, members of ADOA staff, J.R. Sloan, Chief Information Officer, Lisa Meyerson Marshall, Chief of Enterprise Programs and Consulting, Travis Jensen, 911 System Administrator, and Jimmy R. Wood, Legislative Liaison, joining us today from ADOA. Fast forward, the action requested on January 4th, the MAG 911 Study Committee recommended approval to transition to state contract services for regional 911 services. This item is on today's agenda for recommended approval. If there is a vote in the affirmative today, the item is scheduled to go to the Regional Council on January 31st. Pending Regional Council action, this approval serves as a milestone demarcating the beginning of a period of transition for Maricopa Region Public Safety Answering Points, Maricopa Region 911, ADOA, and MAG. To be clear, much work will need to be done to ensure a seamless transition while providing critical public safety services. As I mentioned, Audrey Skidmore is here to provide additional details on elements that I did list regarding state contract services and other issues that need to be addressed pending action by MAG.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I won't reread this slide to you, but to move through the items, the state will be providing a presentation at a joint meeting of the PSAP managers and 911 oversight team on January 25th. This is going to focus on issues of options and coordination so that when they're making the selections of how their calls will be routed and under what conditions, that all the additional and new options are taken into consideration to help us be good neighbors to each other and make sure that we have the correct agreements in place. This will also speak to some of the issues around hosting of instances so that there's redundancy across the agencies. We did speak at length about data center locations. In the next RFP cycle, it seems like that's the appropriate place to further address the geologic stability and weather issues around some of the locations for the data centers. We've spoken about regional procurement and contracts. The vendors are agreeable to agencies that want to do it together or separately. There are benefits and costs to doing that. And so there's additional work and evaluation to be done. And also we wanted to make sure that we maintain a regional voice as they evaluate further RFPs for the future of this system. We spent a lot of time speaking about service level agreements. The state has reviewed and we have reviewed through our consultant the service levels for metro areas around the country. We've asked for a number of changes. Some of those are already being incorporated and the state is continuing to negotiate to make some of the additional changes that we and they feel that are appropriate for a metro area. And of course, this will also be addressed in the next RFP cycle. We've also been working on better understanding the funding process, getting some additional clarity around the existing process, and talking about potential ways to streamline that in the future. And we're still working on this. Oops, sorry, I went too fast. One of the most critical issues we were concerned about was making sure that the existing is funded all the way through the transition period at the appropriate level. So the state has committed to fund MR 911 through the transition plus 30 days. Necessarily Mesa and Phoenix are going to be at the end of this transition because of the way the data centers are hosted and the way the core services are hosted. And we wanted to make sure that that was going to be just as reliable and available as it is now, all the way through the process. Additionally, we've worked to get the Next Gen 911 project that had been paused, restarted, And so the 911, next generation 911 services that were on hold should be available within the existing network in February 2024. ADOA has provided a draft transition plan. Obviously, this is going to be subject to availability of lines and equipment and working with the agencies. But to give you an idea of what we're looking at, this is basically going through the end of 2024. It may move a little to either side. And this is again the requested action, and I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Really? We're at the end of this? I was looking so much forward to more of this. No, thank you. Yeah, what is it, 14 months later? Here we are. First of all, I think we definitely have to recognize and acknowledge that with the city of Phoenix and Liz Graber's team, since when was it, Ed, did you say? 89, MAG 911 has been providing a high level of service, communications service with our residents who are in desperate need of public safety services. And our consultants, Federal Engineering, came in and said, acknowledged, and through their just independent study, said we really had received some of the most high level service of anywhere in the country. And so Liz and her group, please, I want to acknowledge them and for all the work they've done in the city of Phoenix for hosting, keeping this region in a very good space when it came to being responsive and having that 911 system operating all these years. Now the world's changed. There's new technology, there's new opportunities, and the state has done a great job of kind of acknowledging that and trying to figure out how to roll that out across the state. And I want to acknowledge JR and his team and everybody from the state, Lisa and Travis. We've had some pretty intense conversations over the last 14 months. But credit to them, they stuck with us. I'm sure there were times they didn't really enjoy all our meetings, but they were definitely public servants who were willing to sit down and try to find resolutions. And I think the last few meetings we had, the last several meetings we had, very productive and great conversations. And I think you can see it's hard to wrap up all the conversations and all the things that we've seen improve, and the good conversations of getting to a common understanding have been achieved now. And I think we feel like we're in a better place from where we were 14 months ago, as far as at least understanding what the 911 system will look like going forward. So I want to appreciate all the members of the committee and Kevin and Jeff for their assistance during this. But there are still ongoing issues, right? And they're always going to be. This is not that we failed. It's just that there's a continuing dynamic that we're going to still have to have some conversations. So JR, I think we're going to ask for some continued, not as frequently, but I think we need to have follow-up. There's already rumors about other things happening right now for the poor PSAPs. I think they spend more time passing rumors around than answering calls. But there's still just any change is going to bring uncertainty and questions. And so I think this will be maybe not at the level we've had, but we'll need to have this conversation. The future of what MAG 911 will be, as far as maybe we don't call it that anymore, but the conversation we need to still have as a region about these services, I think is necessary and ongoing. But I just want to express my appreciation to all those who have participated in this. Nathan and Audrey, thank you very much for leading the way and providing incredible staffing to this very complicated and difficult process. So as one of the co-chairs of this, I think we feel we're in a very good space. And I think this is a good recommendation going forward. Kevin, do you have anything you want to say?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to echo as well. I think the real winner in all of this is going to be the citizens that we serve, in that we're going from a really top-notch agency with MR 911 and now adding in even new technology, and that technology will be spread out across the state. And so I think ultimately the winners are going to be the citizens that we serve for this. The other thing that I think is going forward and looking into the future is I think it aligns our interest with the state as one group, where before the model almost kind of was conquering and dividing, now we really have an aligned interest throughout all the PSAPs, throughout all the agencies. We all know that the elephant in the room is the fact that this state grossly underfunds MR 911. And that's not ADOA's problem. That's those of us who work with our legislative body. I think this will give us an opportunity to have a very thoughtful conversation with our state to continue to provide the rationale for really readdressing how we fund MR 911. And so I think, you know, kind of going forward, that's going to be a real benefit. And then finally, I think for a lot of us, going to this more common platform and technology will also in the future give us an opportunity to look at maybe strategic consolidations of our PSAPs as well. Because again, that does consume a certain amount of overhead and resources that maybe we can achieve a more efficient system, put those dollars in the more core public safety functions that we know that do the work day in and day out. And I just want to thank again our, you know, Chair Brady. I joked at our last meeting that I feel like a little bit like Blaine Gabbert. And you're probably saying, who's Blaine Gabbert? Well, he's the backup quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. And so I got to be a co-chair all along here, but really Chris has done a tremendous amount of work along with Jeff. And so I do appreciate that, Chris. And I
can't be Travis Kelce. Thank you, Kevin. Anybody else? Any comments, questions? Jeff?
Yeah, I would just like to echo everything that you and Kevin have both said. I do want to recognize JR and team and Travis. We've come a long way from where we started. You know, our goal, our desire, like Chris and Kevin said, was just to make sure that our residents were protected. And I think we're going to ultimately end up with a system that does just that and then some. I think this thing will continue to evolve. And I think when we work collaboratively together and ignore the boundaries that separate us all, we always end up with a better product. And I think we all have to understand that when we collaborate and, you know, we work on something together, we will always end up with a better product. And I think that's where we're going to get to. I think the other thing I would add is as we look to the future, you know, we continue to fight over the same individuals that provide the service. Eventually, this thing may also set us up to have a unified communications solution. So I want to thank you for your collaboration and work on this, but I also want to thank Chris and Kevin for their leadership as we work through this process.
Thanks, Jeff. Josh, please.
Just briefly, I wanted to echo the thank you to Chris and Kevin and Jeff. We signed up for what we thought was going to be a much shorter little adventure we were going to go on. And as you mentioned, 14 months later and many meetings beyond the actual scheduled meetings, wanted to thank you for leading us through this, Chris. Also want to thank MAG staff. You did a tremendous job. This was a study that I think became a lot more technical and a lot more layered at times than any of us envisioned it would be. And so I want to thank you for guiding us through this process. I think we came to a very good place and your work is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Again, thanks, everybody. Appreciate the work. I think we've come to a great point moving this forward, but more conversations to be had. Again, JR and your state, appreciate the partnership and working with you. All right. Is there a motion to approve agenda item number 8?
I'll make the motion. Since it's coming from Phoenix and going to MAG,
Yeah,
I'll make
good
the
idea.
motion.
I have a motion from Jeff Barton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Kevin Phelps. Again, we'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, here we go. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll, or do you need to take a roll call vote of those participating virtually?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Jeff Graves?
Oh, wait a second, Andrea, I'm sorry. In this case, because this is an MR Maricopa region action, we do not need votes from the Pinal County members.
Okay.
So
Apologies.
Mr. Graves and Mr. Liu are off the hook and they are still compliant even though their cameras are not on.
Okay. So otherwise,
Otherwise,
everybody have everybody?
Andrea, with those,
100%?
That is correct. Thank you so
All right.
much. The motion passes.
All right, congratulations. All right, item 9, Executive Director's Report. Ed.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just in the interest of time, a couple things. On the first slide, Amy made a pitch, but we have an affordable housing seminar webinar. I'll leave a piece of paper up here with the QR code if you'd like to click it afterwards and have your staff attend that. We hope they will. Next slide, please. Just put in a pitch. First of all, thanks to Bob Wingenroth, we had good collaboration with the Surprise staff and ADOT to work on a really difficult situation at the 303 US 60. That is making Bob's life, I'm sure, very interesting as we're trying to find solutions, but it's just a pitch to say, as you encounter difficult transportation issues in your areas, in your communities, please let us know how we can be of help to you. We do have resources to help you with that. In the same way we have the resources on the affordable housing side. So this has been a good experience for our staff. I think ADOT's been very helpful. Thank you, Mark, and your team, and the MAG staff have been working together well. We'll skip ahead to the climate pollution reduction grant, if you would, very quickly. We've been out in the community. This grant is underway. As you remember, this is the $1 million planning grant that unlocks the ability for member agencies to apply for several $1 billion of EPA grants. This is going to be wrapping up soon. I want to recognize our team in environmental services, especially Elias Toon, who has led this effort. And so that is underway. It is due on March 1st. And finally, just a very technical thing, but congratulations to our financial staff. We did get a clean bill of health on our financial statement audit, the audit of we can't call it a CAFR anymore. It's a CFR. Thank you very much. The ACFR, clean bill of health, and a single audit, which means we can continue to spend federal money with the knowledge that we're doing it well. So congratulations to Summer Fegley and her staff in finance. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a legislative update?
None today.
Yeah, we really don't want to hear about it anyway. Are there any requests for future agenda items? If not, we stand adjourned till February 14th. Thank you.